At the end of the year, layoffs were actually cut to the main artery. Although Lin Yi didn't want to admit it, after weighing it again and again, he still chooses to argue with his immediate boss. But as soon as he finished speaking, the next second, all his belongings were thrown out like garbage. Manager Yu Lily seems to have wanted to get Lin Yi out for a long time. Not only do I want him to get out, but I also want him to get out of here immediately. The handsome game completely failed, and Lin Yi also ended up leaving. He couldn't understand how it, as the backbone of the business, could end up in such a situation. I am most afraid of the sudden silence of the air, and I am most afraid of the sudden concern of my girlfriend. Lin Yi hurriedly picked up his girlfriend Liu Cici's phone, and he was flustered. After all, he hadn't figured out how to explain his unemployment to her. Blessings and disasters do not go alone. On the other end of the phone, a familiar voice said the most decisive words. Lin Yi, let's break up. Lin Yi was a little devastated, thinking that he would be able to be comforted by his girlfriend. Turned out to be a breakup, and it forced Liu Cici to ask if he had a new love. But she said that even if you have someone, what can you do? After so many years with you, you are still a dick. I don't want to throw my good youth on you. Today is definitely an unforgettable day for Lin Yi. Unemployment and lover, a double whammy. He was in the elevator and was melancholy. Suddenly, an inexplicable noise caught his attention. Looking at the beautiful woman who suddenly appeared in front of him, Lin Yi didn't react yet. The beauty introduced herself as a system mother of the whole professional experience system. It's your servant Ling Wei. Ling Wei is Lin Yi's popular science. Every week, you can experience a new class, and as you complete the corresponding missions, you can unlock the ultimate rewards and finally become a global boss. Could this be the legendary system? It seems that the time is in motion, and the feng shui takes turns. Lin Yi's face could no longer see sadness, because the system pops up a big package. Congratulations on getting the Horn Driver Registration Gift Package. 10,000 yuan. A 30 million controlling stake in the peninsula and a sports car. The invincible pie that fell from the sky completely made Lin Yi forget the pain of unemployment and loveless. With this money, you can be a driver for the rest of your life. But Ling Wei reminded him that each profession can only be experienced for 1 week, not a lifetime. As she spoke, Ling Wei took out the claim card of the Peninsula Hotel from her breast pocket, as well as the car keys worth 30 million sports cars. At this moment, Lin Yi's mobile phone also received a text message. It shows the bank card in his name and received a transfer of 10 million. But at this time, he wanted to see the sports car all the way to the underground road. The C area where the sports car is parked is a place that you can't think of on weekdays. At this moment, the figure of Ji Tianyan, the president of Ji's family, broke into view. Her graceful and sexy figure directly made Lin Yi unable to take his eyes off. Didn't notice anything wrong with Ji Tianyan's car. When he was relieved, he hurriedly asked, Mr. Ji, is your car broken? Unexpectedly, Ji Tianyan still remembered that there was such a number one person as Lin Yi. Immediately made Lin Yi smile and hurriedly asked her if she needed to give you a ride. Unexpectedly, the first order as a driver was preempted by others. I don't know where a kid came out of nowhere, and he moved his hands and feet at Ji Tianyan. I also want to kiss the back of her hand. Frightened, Ji Tianyan hurriedly pulled out his hand. Even Lin Yi couldn't stand the greasy movements. He protected Ji Tianyan behind him and said that he would send her to her destination. The hairy boy is still unrelenting, saying that Lin Yi is a small employee. What kind of good car can he drive? Why don't you take my 1 million worth of sports cars? As he was talking, he didn't expect Ji Tianyan to suddenly stop. She saw a Pagani sports car worth 30 million. This is a top-of-the-line sports car that I have never seen before. How can it appear here? But what made her even more unexpected was that the owner of this car was Lin Yi, a former employee of her. Seeing this, the hairy boy directly laughed at him for bragging. But in the next second, Lin Yi really opened the car door, solemnly invite Ji Tianyan to get into the car, finally waiting for the opportunity to fight back. Lin Yi said lightly, if you want to pick up a girl, let's change your broken car first. Realizing that he had eyes and in no mount tie, the hairy boy suddenly changed his face. Please take me for a ride. Lin Yi didn't say anything and kicked the accelerator, leaving him with exhaust and a covered face. Also feeling incredible is Ji Tianyan. Is this really your car? Aren't you a small employee in the sales department? Lin Yi naturally understood the meaning of her words, but he can't reveal his identity. He can only say that he is a rich second generation who experienced this life. Also invited Ji Tianyan to place an order on the speaker. My first business, of course, is to the beauty in front of me. With a prompt sound from the APP, Lin Yi also officially started his career as a driver, all the way to the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau. The chic sports car parked on the road is very eye-catching. When he arrived at the destination, Ji Chen did not forget to leave a good review on the order. Looking at her beautiful and charming smiling face, Lin Yi only felt that this job was worth it than anything. Ling Wei appeared out of thin air again and brought Lin Yi good news. Congratulations to the host for completing the first order, and the reward is 50,000 proficiency points and 50 million yuan. A reward of 50 million for just one order. Wouldn't it be able to make it to the top of the list of whether to obey or not in that week? In order to celebrate his makeover, Lin Yi came to the Peninsula Hotel that Ling Wei gave him. Unexpectedly, his ex-girlfriend Liu Cixi was actually there, and her new boyfriend Yan Ji was still standing next to her. Yan Ji is an out-and-out rich second generation, and Liu Cixi naturally wants to give him a hug. It was Yan Ji who was the first to discover Lin Yi's existence. The poor ex-boyfriend actually appeared here, which really surprised Liu Cixi. Poor ghost. What are you doing here? Yan Ji was also unceremoniously humiliating him both inside and out. If you want to come here to spend, he is not qualified enough. Liu Cixi did even more. She turned her head and called the security guards who were guarding on the side and asked them to throw Lin Yi out. There was a sound of footsteps, and the security guards came one after another. At this time, Yan Ji was ready to watch the show, but the security guards actually called him Mr. Lin and bowed down to him respectfully. This scene made Liu Cixi and Yan Ji a little suspicious. Could it be that this world had collapsed? It's just a small salesman. How can he get the security guard to bow to him? Don't. He's the boss. This terrifying idea soon became a reality. With the appearance of the manager, the belated regret made Liu Cixi want to cut off his intestines. I actually missed a rich second generation. On the other side, Lin Yi came to the office and watched the manager bring stacks of documents, only to feel that his head was big. He decided not to interface in the operation of the hotel, and everything continued to operate according to the previous model. At this moment, there was a sharp knock on the door. There are guests who want to complain about our hotel, and now the housekeeping department can't stop it. Hearing what the person said, the manager's face instantly became nervous. Lin Yi, who heard the reason clearly, decided to go out in person to solve the complaint of the hosts. When he came to 1704, Lin Yi knocked on the door unhurriedly. Get straight to the point and introduce yourself as the person in charge of the hotel. We will definitely arrange your requirements to your satisfaction. What Lin Yi said, Gu Jinshu didn't hear it at all. Because of Lin Yi's handsomeness, she has been deeply captured. Seeing that there was still room for relaxation, Lin Yi hurriedly gave up his Pagani to this beauty. When Gu Jinshu heard Pagani's 3 words, she was still a little hesitant. After all, I have never driven such an expensive sports car. In line with the fact that the customer is God, Lin Yi immediately said, where do you want to go? I can drive you. Gu Jinshu stopped prevaricating, turned around and went to the room to change clothes. As everyone knows, the transparent glass shows her figure vividly. The low-cut dress highlights a perfect furrow on her chest. Lin Yi was dumbfounded again. At the same time, Liu Cixi, who was full of remorse, just wanted to break up the relationship with Yan Ji. But Yuan Jie directly debunked her. Do you think Lin Yi can still look down on you now? It's a dream. Liu Cixi didn't take his words to heart. After all, he has a relationship foundation for several years. As long as he is coquettish and cries a few times, he will definitely come back and get back together. When the best friend on the side heard her say this, she could only sigh that her life was not good, and she didn't meet a rich second generation who loved her. While talking, the scene of Lin Yi and Gu Jinshu walking down the stairs side by side stunned Liu Cixi again, but she couldn't hesitate and rushed to Lin Yi in a flash. At this time, Lin Yi only hated that he loved the wrong person at the beginning, got along every day and night. But I didn't find that Liu Cixi was a villain who hated the poor and loved the rich. Liu Cixi didn't care about anything else and cried out with a frown, speaking of the bits and pieces of the past. Have you forgotten them? Gu Jinshu is not easy to handle. She caressed Lin Yi's chest affectionately, and the hostess' posture made Liu Cixi even more angry. Lin Yi was not polite, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, he hugged Gu Jinshu's slender waist. The two looked at each other affectionately. The air was filled with little pink hearts, as if they were about to overflow the screen. After the show of affection is over, it's time to say that you have left. Only Liu Cixi was left with a stern face, looking at the back of Lin Yi leaving, and talking about the former vows and alliances. It's these nonsense words that love says when it's dizzy. Listening to Lin Yi's ears, I felt that it was particularly ugly. The said composite drama was not staged, leaving only Liu Cixi, who wanted to cry without tears. Lin Yi took Gu Jinshu to the garage, and the episode just now did not affect the mood of the two of them. Gu Jinshu said that she was going to the splendid hotel, where her classmates were holding a wedding. Lin Yi agreed with a smile as he started the vehicle, smoothly came to the splendid hotel, which is no less splendid than the Peninsula Hotel. At this time, there was a group of beautiful women standing at the door of the hotel. They are all Gu Jinshu's classmates. However, it seems that the relationship is not friendly. With the debut of Lin Yi's sports car, it instantly attracted everyone's attention. Just when they were wondering who was sitting in the car, it was sacred. Seeing Gu Jinshu's figure walking down from the car, they had no choice but to withdraw their surprised gaze. Gu Jinshu did not leave in a hurry, but turned around to seek Lin Yi's help. I helped you once, and now it's your turn to help me. Lin Yi didn't refuse. He leaned out of the car window and said loudly, "Have fun, my dear." At the end of the magical day, Lin Yi drove back to his rented community. At this time, someone was snatching a mobile phone from the rental house. It is Shang Jingjing, the daughter of landlord Wu Jinlan. She persuaded her mother to give Lin Yi a few more days, and he would definitely be able to pay the rent. This move directly provoked Wu Jinlan's anger. How do you run if someone runs? I warn you, stay away from such poor workers. When the mother and daughter were arguing, Lin Yi had already pushed open the door. Naturally, he heard the quarrel just now, so he got straight to the point, saying that he would move immediately, pack up his things and leave immediately. When Wu Jinlan heard that he was leaving, he was afraid that he would not want to make up the rent arrears before. But Lin Yi didn't say anything, just operated a few times on his phone. Almost at the same time, Wu Jinlan's mobile phone also rang. It's a text message from the bank, exactly 2 months of rent. The extra rent made Wu Jinlan very puzzled. Lin Yi hurriedly explained, because he was sorry for the rent arrears many times before, and this was compensation. The world's difference in change made Wu Jinlan not react. Did he have any new plans? Lin Yi only said that he recently ran orders on the Horn platform, but he went from being a salesman to a driver. Lin Yi's impression in her heart still hasn't changed, but when she saw the valuable sports car parked in the yard, she still didn't associate it with Lin Yi, still taunting him. The broken car you drove before, why didn't you drive it today? It wasn't until Lin Yi took out Pagani's car keys that Wu Jinlan's mouth was completely blocked. Disbelief was written all over her face. The poor worker who rented his house was able to drive such a good car. Lin Yi had a showdown. Part-time work is just me experiencing life. In fact, my real identity is a rich second generation. As soon as he finished speaking, he kicked the accelerator and left. Only the stunned mother and daughter were left. Fortunately, Wu Jinlan is very realistic. In the past, they loved to ignore him, but now he is high. They can't climb high. Zhang Jingjing, you don't want to review his son. Then he drove all the way back to the Peninsula Hotel, and the manager also intimately prepared a presidential suite for him. I tasted the craftsmanship of a 5-star chef again, which was really good. After being full of wine and food, Ji Tianyan sent another text message. She finished her errands at the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau and wanted Lin Yi to pick her up. In the face of the request of the Beauties, Lin Yi has always not known how to write the 2 words of refusal. Watched Ji Tianyan sit in the car. Although her face was tired, it was still difficult to hide her stunning face. Lin Yi asked her to continue to place orders on the speaker platform. As long as you continue to complete your professional proficiency, making a fortune is not a dream. Although I don't understand why this rich second generation can't think about it so much. Ji Tianyan still obediently placed an order on his mobile phone. Does he have any ulterior secrets? Thinking of this, Ji Tianyan decided to make a good deal of adjustment to solve the doubts in his heart. Suddenly, Ling Wei appeared again, startling Lin Yi. Fortunately, except for the host, no one else can see it. Ling Wei looked at Ji Tianyan and spoke highly of it. The system score is as high as 85 points, which is really good looking. Ling Wei then congratulated Lin Yi. Congratulations to the owner for successfully receiving the second order, triggering the system task, picking up to Beauties with more than 85 points, and rewarding 10,000 proficiency. As for the Beauties with more than 85 points, please refer to Ji Tianyan. At this time, Ji Tianyan was unaware that he had been hit by the system mother with the highest score of 85. She was worried about a press conference that the company wanted to hold, and contacted the city's 5-star hotels, but none of them could vacate the venue. Speaking of the hotel, Lin Yi is in the middle of it. He kindly reminded you to visit the Peninsula Hotel. Speaking of the Peninsula Hotel, it is a super 5-star hotel, although not afraid to spend money, because it is impossible to set it. Lin Yi retorted lightly, that's not necessarily. Life is full of surprises. Don't believe you try. A few words coaxed Ji to smile, and immediately decided to change the direction and go to the Peninsula Hotel. A sports car with excellent performance drifts handsomely on the road. Ji Tianyan in the car had a whim, and wanted to make a bet with Lin Yi. if the hotel can talk about it. What reward do you want? Lin Yi thought about it. Why don't you come to 10 squats and exercise? By the way, Ji Tianyan, who didn't know why, checked Dunyam, only to find that this squatting action was so shameful. But I remembered that I had just called the manager of the hotel, and the other party had already made it clear that there was no place. It is estimated that this bet will not be lost. And Ji Tianyan also generously agreed. I'm not a man of words. The men had different minds and made their way back to the peninsula. Ji Tianyan found the front desk and asked about the hotel schedule again. As long as you squeeze out time, you can say anything. The front desk saw Lin Yi gesturing to himself, and he also understood that this was a little fun for the boss to play, laughing and not debunking. Let them go to the manager to talk in detail. The manager who got the news was also conscientious and did not debunk Lin Yi's identity. Ji Tianyan got straight to the point, asked about the hotel's recent arrangements. There was any time left for her. It's not hopeful, but the bet has already been made, so it's better to give it a try. I didn't expect the manager to agree. The surprise that suddenly arrived made Ji Tianyan somewhat believe what Lin Yi said. Life is full of surprises. Things have an ending, and the bet is self-evident. Lin Yi was also afraid that she would regret it, so Ji Tianyan had no choice but to say, I'm the president of the group. How can my words not count? Unexpectedly, Lin Yi made a trick and helped her fasten her seat belt in a very ambiguous posture. Seeing that he couldn't run away, Ji Tianyan's heart sank. There's not enough space in the car, so why don't you go to my house? The words hit Lin Yi's heart, pedaled the accelerator to the end, and drove all the way towards Ji Tianyan's mansion. It is worthy of the vision of the president, and even the decoration of the villa is unique. When they arrived at the door, Ji Tianyan was full of shyness. Are you going to watch it now? It's better to wait. Lin Yi, who was obviously very idle, pretended to be very busy and kept urging, I'll have something to do in a while, so you can do it quickly. 2 patches of crimson climbed up Ji Tianyan's cheeks. After all, this kind of large-scale action is also her first attempt. Without time to hesitate, Ji Tianyan adjusted his posture, but Lin Yi, on the other side, was already so excited that his nose bleeded. The 10 squats are still continuing, and the sexy and bewitching figure makes Lin Yi want to stop. As everyone knows, all of this was seen by Ji Tianyan's father. The sudden change frightened Ji Jin's face. Even Lin Yi's face had the word embarrassment written on it. Ji Tianyan was very surprised when he saw his father's arrival, and the father and daughter were also speechless, and the whole atmosphere became tense. The father was the first to speak, breaking the awkward atmosphere. I shouldn't be here. Should it be under the car? Look how sweet you guys are. Ji Tianyan knew that Ba Cheng had been misunderstood, so he hurriedly explained. Lin Yi is a yoga personal trainer invited by himself, and Lin Yi is also blindfolded. Unexpectedly, my father was a person with common sense in life, and he ridiculed him. You don't know anything about me as a bad old man. The coach only watches from above. People are just getting started. Ji Tianyan tried his best to explain that Lin Yi was a senior personal trainer, but his father didn't want to talk too much. He asked Ji Tianyan to flash aside, and he wanted to interrogate Lin Yi personally. As he spoke, he carried a strong cordion, Saturday down next to Lin Yi. Young man, what's your name? How old are you? Where is the household registration? Where is the high hall? But an only son. This whole interrogation insisted on asking Lin Yi's household registration book. When he learned that Lin Yi was a taxi driver, he was shocked with a whole capital letter. A taxi driver. What kind of sports car do you have to drive to catch up with my daughter? Lin Yi scratched his head embarrassedly. Uncle is really wise. I'm just a regular driver who drives Pagani as a taxi. Unexpectedly, Pagani at the door was actually Lin Yi's car. He changed his face at that time and kept praising Lin Yi, who was not a little better than those gentlemen. Seeing that Ji's father was about to hand over his life to Lin Yi, Ji Tianyan hurriedly stepped forward to explain that the relationship between himself and Lin Yi was not what his father thought, but he naturally didn't care about that. And before leaving, he also sent an invitation to Lin Yi. I hope he can come to guide Grandpa Ji on his 80th birthday. When Ji Tianyan heard this, he was also speechless. After her father left, Ji Tianyan stabilized her mind, and she said to Lin Yi embarrassedly, my father misunderstood us. There is a way to know the current affairs for the handsome. How to completely resolve the misunderstanding. Lin Yi's method is to make a calculation and cook the raw rice into rice. Ji Tianyan was overwhelmed by Lin Yi's sudden move, but Lin Yi is like a cheetah locking on his prey, and Ji Tianyan didn't resist much. She said coquettishly that since the misunderstanding was so profound, that can only be broken. Ji Tianyan's attitude made Lin Yi even more unscrupulous. I saw him reach for Ji Tianyan's thigh with his hand. However, Ji Tianyan's sudden reaction intensified and pushed Lin Yi away. Lin Yi hurriedly said, that he wanted to emphasize the training of this part of the muscle group, and Ji Tianyuan was also speechless when he heard this. This is really a concubine who is ruthless. At this moment, Lin Yi's mobile phone rang again. It turned out to be Wang Ying, a colleague from the former company, and the other party said, "When you leave, many colleagues are reluctant to let you go, so let's have a practice meal together in that evening." The face of an old colleague cannot be left untreated, so Lin Yi hurriedly said goodbye to Ji Tianyuan, and Ji Tianyuan, who was dissatisfied, could only scold the hooligan. Turning his head, Lin Yi came to the Yipinju Hotel that he had made an appointment with Wang Ying. When Wang Ying saw Lin Yi, she immediately warmly beckoned him to take a seat. At this time, all the colleagues have arrived. Then, Wang Ying blamed Lin Yi and resigned. Why was she so impulsive? Working hard in the workplace? Isn't that a daughter-in-law, a mother-in-law? If you endure it, you'll be a sales director. As soon as these words came out, Huang Youwei on the side stopped doing it. Why are you so sure that Lin Yi will definitely be able to be a sales director? In terms of performance, we are comparable. Wang Ying immediately sneered at each other. How did you lick your face and say the word comparable? Obviously, Lin Yi is better than you, Huang Youwei said disdainfully, and Zai Shou was also dismissed. Turning his head, Huang Youwei held a wine glass and congratulated Li Dongzhong, who was about to be promoted to sales director, when the other party says, "Today's protagonist is Lin Yi, who can dominate the crowd." Lin Yi said disdainfully, "How do I feel that you two are not going to see me off, but to show off your might?" Li Dongzhong is not happy. "We are kind enough to send you. I don't know what you plan to do in the future, or go back to the countryside to raise pigs." Huang Youwei added, "He is an orphan and has a hard time raising himself." Huang Youwei said while picking up the wine glass, "I see. I am more familiar with the property manager of our community. Why don't you come to me and be a janitor for me?" Huang Youwei's arrogant attitude made everyone very unhappy. Lin Yi said angrily that he was ready to run a taxi, "So I won't bother you to worry about my work." Just then, a waiter walked in and asked who the owner of the luxury car downstairs was. Lin Yi hurriedly asked if his own Pagani was in the way. Other people who have never seen the world have gathered around the window to admire this legendary luxury car worth tens of millions. The waiter immediately said that Lin Yi's Pagani was blocking the other lanes. "I hope Lin Yi can move the car." Seeing this, the classmates on the side immediately mocked Lin Yi, and the waiter said that it was Pagani. "It's not a broken taxi you run. I saw Lin Yi wing light and took out Pagani's car keys from his pocket. The Pagani is mine, and of course I'll have to ask what the situation is." At this time, Li Dongzhong had already sensed that something was wrong. He asked Lin Yi, "Aren't you an orphan? Where did you get the money to buy such an arrogant super luxury car?" This kind of secular stereotype makes Lin Yi very unhappy, who said that orphans can't drive sports cars and live in bungalows. Right guy. As soon as the words fell, Lin Yi turned to Wang Ying, saying that it was not interesting to eat this meal by himself. "I just sent you home." However, at this moment, someone suddenly stopped Lin Yi, who was about to leave. Li Dongzhong already felt that it was not simple, so he wagged his tail and begged for mercy. But Lin Yi didn't give face at all. "You're about to become a director, and let me have a yarn." After finishing speaking, Lin Yi took Wang Ying, kicked the accelerator, and disappeared in front of everyone. Wang Ying, who Saturday on tens of millions of Pagani for the first time, is no different from Grandma Liu, who has just entered the Grandview Garden for the first time. Wang Ying said to Lin Yi, "I've been working with you for so long, before I realize you're an invisible rich man. But you just said that you were going to go to rental. Is it a joke or a real thing?" Lin Yi said, "Of course it's true." A colleague. The test does not consider the next order now. However, after 2 seconds of not being happy, Lin Yi received a prompt from the system. According to the evaluation, Wang Ying's comprehensive score did not reach the standard score of 85 points, which surprised Lin Yi with 100 million points. He looked Wang Ying up and down again with his peripheral vision. "This is not scientific. How can you give such a low score to this convex and backward, bumpy figure, tight makeup, and slender lines?" On the other side, Wang Ying was looked at by Lin Yi with a shy face. Lin Yi asked Wang Ying if she knew how to effectively enhance her feminine charm. Wang Ying said that this is not simple. "Isn't it just to make yourself charming? What's complicated?" As she spoke, Wang Ying took out a crystal clear black silk from her bag and put it on her feet. Black silk with professional clothes. Wang Ying at this time is not an exaggeration to say that she is a heartthrob. After putting on the black silk, Wang Ying put a POS for Lin Yi again. "Let's see if your sister Yin and I are in this state. Is it the kind of charm you want? What do you think still needs to be scrutinized? Just bring it up. Sister Yin will try her best to be satisfied." Lin Yi can't be regarded as having seen what feminine charm is, so hurry up and let the system score it. Sure enough, after adding the charm of black, the system assessment passed the test directly. as a reward for career completion. Then he needs to go to the manager of Kyushu Pavilion to receive the villa. Hearing this news, it would be irresponsible for oneself to delay one more second. But before going, I still sent Wanin home. After successfully arriving at the destination, Wanin sent an invitation to Linyi with spring water in her eyes. Do you want to go upstairs and talk? My husband is on a business trip today. Linyi is not puzzled. He has said that he still has something. See you next time. It's not that wives and young wives are beautiful, but villas are more seductive. Wanin said goodbye to Linyi with reluctance in her eyes, and Linyi also responded politely. But the mind had already flown into the villa. The next day, Linyi came to the Kyushu Pavilion, real estate sales center according to the requirements of the task, and the residents here are described in 4 words. That is, they are either rich or expensive. Linyi put his hands in his pockets, so chic that he couldn't do it. He felt like the most beautiful boy in the audience. Jung Mun-yu, who heard the sound, looked back and saw that the person who came was actually his former colleague Linyi. How could the stick silk come to such a high-end place? Linyi was obviously a little embarrassed when he saw his old acquaintance, and he told Jung Mun-yu, I came to their manager to ask for the title deed. But Jung Mun-yu actually pushed Linyi out directly. The houses here are small and tens of millions, and hundreds of millions of them are moving. Which one Linyi can buy? However, when real estate manager Won Hui saw Linyi, she directly drove Jung Mun-yu aside. Jung Mun-yu was also a little surprised by Won Hui's attitude. What is the origin of this person? Won Hui showed her full enthusiasm, slowly approaching Linyi. High-level hunters often show people in the most ordinary way. Of course Won Hui knows this truth. Then, she took Linyi's arm, intending to give him a good introduction to the situation here. Jung Mun-yu later reminded Won Hui that this person had no purchasing power at all. Won Hui was furious after hearing this, and she scolded Jung Mun-yu sharply. Let her go to the personnel department immediately to settle this month's salary, and she will not have to go to work from tomorrow. Let Jung Mun-yu try his best to explain that he and Linyi really know each other. He knows all the details, and it is a waste of time to spend time on him. But Won Hui's words directly made Jung Mun-yu stand in place. You know a fart. Mr. Lin bought 9 villas here. Has the grass grown on your grave to make friends with nobles? Bought 9 villas in Chujo Pavilion. This world is so magical. At this moment, Jung Mun-yu is already slumped to the ground in fright, and she couldn't wait to take a sip of wine to wake herself up. Linyi on the side was secretly happy in his heart. This system is amazing. It's not a villa. It's 9 good guys. Pancakes and fruits don't dare to be so branded. Won Hui turned her head to apologize to Linyi frantically, and she said that the pressure on sales performance has been a bit great recently. This employee is crazy, and I hope that Lord Linyi will not remember the villain. Not to mention that Won Hui is a sales manager. An apology with autumn water in his eyes makes Linyi look soft and numb. Forget it. This employee has already been fired by you anyway. However, the autumn wave secretly sent by Won Hui still can't resist the temptation of the villa. At this time, Won Hui had already prepared 9 real estate certificates for Linyi, as well as 9 keys. Linyi threw the 9 villa books in the back seat of the car like rags. This time, it's all alive. If people are lucky, they can't stop it. And former colleague Wanin sent a voice. She told Linyi, you Lily and Li Jongdong were both fired from the company. Although Linyi was a little ecstatic, he felt that he had just walked on his front foot. The 2 were fired, and the speed was comparable to that of a Formula 1 car. Linyi contacted Ji Tianyan, and the other party confirmed the news just now. She also said that as long as Linyi is willing, the position of sales director will be reserved for him. The current Linyi can be regarded as a huge rich man who owns a mansion, and he gave up the position of supervisor to Wang Ying, who reported the news, and Ji Tianyan is also looking for an opportunity to get close to Linyi. At this time, Linyi received a system prompt that if he completed the task, he could get 5 5-star praises and reward to 100,000 proficiency points. Career completion is a quarter of them. After sending Ji Tianyan to the designated location, Linyi asked her to give herself a 5-star review. But such a simple request. Ji Tianyan caught this and teased Linyi. Ji Tianyan said that he was ready to use the 9 squats he owed Linyi before in exchange for a 5-star praise. Linyi thought to himself that the big thing was not good. Don't make yourself lose your evening for the sake of these jujubes. So he said don't praise it anymore, and drove Ji Tianyan out of the car. However, the spring color that is delivered to the mouth is useless. Linyi simply got off the donkey. 9 squats, none of which was missing. The crisp sound of the seat belt buckle pressed the pause button on the ambiguous atmosphere. Ji Tianyan looked at Linyi in the car with a shy face. It was a feeling of unfinished. It's a coincidence This strange scene was bumped into by Wang Ying, who had just been expelled. Lin Yi took the lead and had told the other party that he was just running a taxi, just happened to meet Ji Tianyan. But this kind of behavior of 300 taels of silver here is even more eye-catching. The shrewd Wang Ying immediately reviewed what had happened recently, and she finally came to her senses. No wonder Lin Yi is so ignorant of the world. It turns out to be a related household in the company. Ji Tianyan urged Wang Ying not to be late, which interrupted her, who was thinking about her, looking at the back that is full of legs under the head, and is bumpy. For a moment, Lin Yi also began to think about it. Suddenly, the rapid sound of his mobile phone immediately pulled him back to reality. It turned out to be a 5-star praise given to him by Ji Tianyan. Now it seems that Ji Tianyan is really a woman with a knife mouth and a tofu heart.